Okay, YouTube, how you doing? So basically I'm using this video as a way of directing you to a link that's going to be in the description down below, and it's called the essay that I wrote, and trust me, it's interesting. It's called if illicit drugs were legal, they would be obsolete. Basically, in the essay, I talk about how, much like the pharmaceutical industry, where we have different generations of drugs, and each generation shows a marked improvement from the last, where you have more target effects and less side effects. I feel that much the same thing would happen with drugs, like cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, that these would, through a process of refinement and research, you would get new chemicals that would make these old ones obsolete. For instance, you can have a chemical like cocaine that doesn't cause horrendous insomnia or a huge crash, or doesn't make your heart rate go up so high. So, or maybe a way of taking in cocaine that's not as strong, like through the nose, such as a gum or something. I feel that many people, many people are unaware of this possibility, that they feel if drugs would be legal, they'd just be those drugs and we wouldn't do anything about them. Also, I want to bring a current example of this phenomenon right now with cannabis. In the 2 states in America where it's legal, we see a surge of the business, and they're not all just smoking joints, but they have a variety of ways of using cannabis, like vaporizing, sublimation, eating it, using it topically, using it as a spray, or what have you. All these different ways of introducing cannabis into the human body with its own unique effects. Like these e-cigarettes with pure hash oil instead of flowers, or even products that have target effects, such as if you just want to feel chilled out, you can feel chilled out, or if you want to feel focused, you can feel focused, or if you want to feel giggly, you can feel giggly, so on and so forth. So, I think it's really important that these drugs, or that people understand that these drugs can be modified and can be improved on. It's just our prohibition which keeps them in the dark ages, so to speak. Imagine if the only alcohol you were able to drink was one that was fermented badly and tasted completely horrendous. I'm willing to bet that people would still use it, but it would be a world away from the kind of alcohol we have today, where you can sniff it or something. Oh, not sniff it, I'm sorry, you can vaporize it and whatnot. All these cool and interesting ways of flavoring it, and ways of injecting it into concoctions that don't taste as bad as straight alcohol. All these things are kind of like examples of what I'm talking about, specifically with the cannabis. But the thing is that unlike medicines that are prescribed now, I feel that because it would be more of a commercial market, the rate of change will be much faster, and we have much more generations in a shorter amount of time compared to the medicinal versions of these medicinal drugs. Of course, like I mentioned many times before in my writings and in these YouTube videos, I do feel that in order to make the step to legalization, we do need about a 5 to 10 year buffer period where the drugs are decriminalized, but no one's allowed to sell them. And people can get very, very mildly in trouble. Less than something as bad as a parking ticket. It's a really cheap parking ticket. You get caught with a certain substance. So I really feel that it's important to have this buffer period, because this is when the scientists, the researchers will actually look into the drugs' effects and try to parse out the good and bad effects and see where it comes from, in the research. And then after that buffer zone, or that buffer time period, we can go back into or we can go into a legalization phase where it's marketed, and depending on how it affects us, it's restricted. So, if it's really addictive, maybe it's harder to find, and it's harder to acquire the license to sell it, right? Whereas something that's not as addictive would be more available. So, basically, like I was saying in the description, I really fleshed this out in its ideological not entirely, but I definitely don't exhaust the topic, but I do provide many more examples, and what I'm saying right now is just a little tip of the iceberg of what I have there, and basically I'm just doing all this so we can change the way we feel about substances and drugs and understand how they can actually fit into a society and not tear it apart like people are so afraid of. Or that some people are just ignorant. I mean, that's where they get the idea from, it's just pure ignorance. It's the same sentiment that some people felt when they looked at getting rid of slavery, getting rid of segregation, or allowing gays to be open would tear society apart. And like we're seeing in Colorado, society has been torn apart with the reefer madness chemical. So, that's basically it. I don't want to make this video too long. But so remember, go down into the description and you'll see the link to my blog. If you don't have a Blogger account, that's fine, you can still read it. But if you want to comment on it and you don't have that profile, you can comment on this video. We can have discussion there. I don't care if you like it or hate it or anything. It would be great for your feedback. So thank you for listening and have a good one.